when I slide this to the right,
Yeah.
two more buttons.
Two little, yeah. Just slide them to the right.
Both of them.
Yeah. One says end the event, the other one says save to the SD check.
So which one first?
So, doesn't matter, both of them are just going to be right, and then press the stop or something.
Okay.
Because now it's
I
true.
haven't got it.
Do you see the red or not? Because it may not be able to see
I
the red.
have not seen that.
Can you stand up? You can see it from slightly different angle, right?
Okay.
See that color? So that means it's recording, it's sending.
Then this has to be turned off at the end.
Yeah, when it's finished.
When it's all
Then,
finished.
yeah, then it can turn off, yeah. Then disconnect. Okay? I'm ready. Good job.
Okay. Now, how have we done the whole thing? Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Puranamaniya Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Amba Tvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramopanshadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na Vidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So it's interesting, this sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that talks about how to do meditation. The meaning of the word meditation is an interesting one because everybody has their own concept of what meditation is. So a clarification of what meditation means in Vedantic sense is important. We should be very clear about it. And the more you study the very nature of meditation, the more effective your own meditation is. So to analyze the meditation itself is also a very, in my own experience also, I started out by having a vague idea of what meditation is. And even now I've talked to people many times and you say, do you meditate? You know, and and you say, yes, I do, but what their idea of meditation is and what is your idea of meditation are totally different. This is very much like Swami Dayanandji once was saying that do you have a discussion with someone and you say, do you believe in God? And the person says, no, I don't believe in God. Do you? And he says, yes. And then you find that their concept of what God is and your concept of what God is are totally different. So when you say, I don't believe in it, you don't believe in a certain concept that you have. So the whole question is, what is the meditation that we are talking about? So there, the steps that clarify the nature of nididhyasanam for us is very important, because then we know exactly what we are doing. And we have already been revising it. It can be summarized in the following way, that any thoughts that we have that pertain to the roles we play in our life are distinguished from the thoughts about our own self that is not the role but the one who is playing the role. This what compromises nididhyasanam. In other words, nididhyasanam, which is of course the Vedantic meditation, it is not the normal thinking of what others think of meditation. Because we don't know what others think of meditation, but generally we can generalize that what they mean is sense of calmness and relaxation. This is what people mean. And which is true, it should be there. But our meditation is far beyond that. That is just one aspect of it. The main aspect of that is sketching out of the narrative of who I am as opposed to the roles that I play. And so from this standpoint, as I think the examples given by Swami Paramarthananda were very, very useful in the sense that who I am has a certain sense of a personality, as the person who's playing the personality. That person has a sense of who I am. What does it really mean? Does it mean quietness? Yes, it means quietness. But much more than that. When did the quietness start? What will happen when I die? where will that quietness be? So it is not just simply saying quietness. You see, it's not just that. It is a complete understanding of the nature of quietness. Who is quiet? Is quietness a property, or is it the very sense of the person? All of that has to be done. And this has to follow a knowledge of who this person is. So the vidya has to come first. And then the vidya, even though the knowledge and the introduction to who this quiet person is somewhat clear to me from the earlier discussion of the chapter 2, 3, 4, 5. But it's not as though I can see it for myself. I don't have that yet. To see it for myself is the role of nididhyasana. That is the role of nididhyasana. So the nididhyasanam, in the sense of Vedanta, has a very particular role, and we need to understand what that is so that we can tell whether we are there yet or not, what are the impediments in my understanding. All of that has to be done. So it is not just pure experience where you just sit down and quieten your mind down. It is backed by factual understanding of who am I, who is the person who is playing roles, and what is the nature of that person, what is my background, where is my future, how will it help me. All of those kinds of things have to be done in the meditation. So that being the case, a kind of a step-by-step sketching of these steps of meditation are very useful. And in that case, a comparison with the Patanjali yoga steps is also very useful, because Patanjali has done a marvelous job of delineating the steps of a successful meditation. For most part, we differ at the very end, but with respect to that, except for that, I think it is pretty much close to it. So we should be aware of the Patanjali's steps and how they relate to the Vedantic. So as you know, in the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga means a yoga of 8 limbs. There are the following 8 ones, and I'm just revising it, we've already gone through it before. Yama, Niyama, Asana. So Yama and Niyama, I'll comment on it as we go along. Yama and Niyama are what is called Bahiranga Sadhana. We've already gone through the verses in chapter number 6 that talk about Bahiranga Sadhana. Bahiranga Sadhana means those that are common attitudes that get you to the beginning of a successful meditation. If you don't have the Bahiranga Sadhana, then your meditation will be very interrupted and it won't be successful. So to have a life which is full of samatvam in your life is all important. So this is what is called Yama and Niyama. Then comes the next 2 in Patanjali's sutras, which is Pranayama and Pratyahara. And those are close to what the Vedantic description is, which is Antaranga Sadhana. So Antaranga Sadhana means not the general background, but when you're ready to do the meditation, what is it that you need to do? Okay? So those are actually three of them: asana, pranayama, and pratyahara. These three. And so those three are called antaranga sadhana. And they consist of a control over your physical body. So asana means a control over your physical body. Physical body means that disturbances created by the body, like for example scratchiness, and the ability to not stay in a comfortable position. If you have very much and so for example sitting posture is important. So the physical, anyway, so the control over the annamaya kosha, which is the physical body. Then the second one is pranayama, which is control over the internal physiological aspects of the body. Physiological. So one is the physical and the other one is the physiological. The physiological means the most important physiological aspect of your own body is your breathing. This is started with the breathing, ends with the breathing. And to have a regulated sense of breathing where you're and so, for example, Swami Dayananji also say is that supposing you have a very bad cold and your nose is stuffed, then it is better to not fight it and saying, I need to meditate. You can do it if you want to. If you are capable of overcoming it, the chances are that your inability to breathe normally through your nose will cause an impediment. And you should be aware of that. Up to a certain point, you can breathe nicely, but not completely. So what it means is that all physiological aspects of your body need to be regulated. So that means that your breathing primarily should be very systematic, deep, and so this is what is called control over the prana. So the first one is the control over annamaya kosha. The second one is the pranamaya kosha. Then the third one is pratyahara. So pratyahara means withdrawing from the external world. Getting your thoughts from withdrawing from the external world. And here, I think that the example given by Swami Paramarthananda is really the best that I have seen, which is that when you want to watch a movie, you need, or really anything, even if you're supposing you are watching television at home, and you want to really be absorbed in the narrative of something that you're watching, it is very natural that you withdraw your involvement from other things. And so now you start to focus. If you just follow your mind, how your mind is now, it's like you don't want to take phone calls, you're not playing with your cell phone. You now want to be absorbed in something that you want to do. Excuse me. So pratyahara means that, so here in the sense of the discussion of the Vedantic meditation, your mind is usually involved in playing roles. You're worrying about have I made breakfast for my children yet? Or am I late? Am I good? All of those are roles. And so to do meditation, you withdraw yourself either consciously or slowly or fast or whatever, but you have to withdraw and start paying attention to the narrative of what you want to do, which is watching a film or a TV serial or something, or reading a book even. So this is what is called pratyahara. Pratyahara means withdrawing from your normal occupation into this special meditation. So this is called pratyahara. Okay? So now we have covered 5 of the Patanjali's sutras: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, and pratyahara. Then comes the last 3, which in our situation is the most important. The first 5 were just preparation. The last 3 are called dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Dharana, dhyanam, and samadhi. Dharana means turning the mind away from what you are leaving and focusing it on the subject that you are interested in. And here another example, very nice example given, I don't know where I read it, one of the acharyas had given this, that suppose you want to take a snapshot with your camera, these days with the cell phone. So now what you do is you are looking at things in general, but you want to take a picture of a person. So now you focus, you tilt it, so looking at that person. This is all part of dharana. And to focus on it, just to at least frame that person, not even focus on it, just to frame that person, saying, okay, this is what I want to get. This is called dharana. Dhyanam is retaining your focus. The second one is dharana, second one is dhyanam, is retaining your focus. Like in snapping, you're taking a snapshot, so that you hold steady. And the same thing on watching TV or watching a movie, you now have to put your attention on the narrative. Like for example, when the movie starts, you have to say, now your thoughts are not towards your neighbors and this, that, or the other. It's about the plot of the movie. Who is this person? What am I seeing? How is the first scene related to the second one? What is the story? This absorption is what is called dhyanam. Very similarly to that is the dhyanam towards what Vedanta is saying about you. Really, this is the important thing. We have again, I'm just restating it. In Vedantic sense, nididhyasanam does not mean thoughtlessness. It means following the narrative of what the Atma Vijnanam is. The narrative of it. What is the nature of the Atma? When was it born? Was it ever born? What is the future of the Atma? What is the nature of the Atma? How do we function? All of this is the narrative of the movie that you need to focus on. And so this is what is called dhyanam. And the final stage now this is where the differences between Vedanta and Patanjali's yoga come in. So we should be clear about that. In Patanjali's yoga, samadhi means just being thoughtless. Which, by the way, is really the goal of even the Atma Buddhi. Atma Buddhi is to be formless and to be quiet and to be happy. This is also the goal of Vedanta. So the question is, then where are the differences? Aren't they both saying the same thing? Not really. How? What do you mean by not really? Because in the Yoga Sutra given by Patanjali, samadhi means thoughtlessness as an experience. What does it mean? It means your basic conclusion about yourself is, I am a limited person. I'm a jiva. I'm a human being. And I want to have the experience of being quiet and happy. This is exactly what the end result of the Patanjali Samadhi is. So what happens is that you create the condition to be able to achieve it, sure, through all these steps that we've gone through, yama, niyama, etc. But at the end of that samadhi as an experience ends. It ends. How does it end? We don't know, but it could be either hunger. You certainly feel hunger, or you want to go to the bathroom, or you are disturbed for some reason. Mind, some thoughts come. Your samadhi is gone. So the Patanjali Samadhi is not the Vedantic Samadhi. Why? Because it's in the form of an experience. And all experiences, unless they had been carefully analyzed and categorized, experiences by themselves don't mean anything. They can come and go. Then what is the samadhi of the Vedanta? Now you've criticized the Patanjali Samadhi, but can you tell me about yours? So there we say that if you look at the word Samadhi, it has two elements to it. Before we answer that, it has two elements to it. One is called Savikalpa Samadhi, and one is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Okay, Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa. So, Samadhi, first of all, in our view, is not thoughtlessness, but it is an understanding of the thoughts completely, including where do the thoughts come from? What is the nature of the thoughts? Who am I? Am I someone that is consisting of thoughts. This is exactly what our situation is. If you are really speaking, our estimation about ourselves is, I am what I think. I am just nothing but a sum total of all of my thoughts. This is how we start our analysis, and we don't end up there. Our analyses are totally different than that. In the end, we say that I am someone that is capable of some thoughts, but I don't have to have thoughts. And I am someone which is independent of thoughts. Thoughts are not independent of me, but I am independent of the thoughts. So this requires knowledge, analysis, study, understanding, questioning. All of that, there's a lot of much more background to it. It's not just pure thoughtlessness. In the parlance of the Vedantic knowledge, it is like saying, am I just this room space or am I that room space? No. I can be this room space, but I don't have to be. I'm just space. I'm just space. And so, room space, being room space doesn't bother me. Whereas in this analysis, in Patanjali's case, I'm a room space. And for a while I forget that their walls are there, then it's a very nice feeling that I am just a room space and you don't forget it, you forget about the walls. But the walls are there. When the walls come back, then you still have a feeling I'm a room space. Whereas in the Vedantic meditation, I am unlimited space. Unlimited space means there's a lot of training, a lot of education has to go through. Unlimited space means ajaha, one which is never born. Nityaha, which is always there. Anantaha. Can you appreciate that about yourself, that you are ajaha? That you are anantaha? You are nityaha? You are purnaha? All these kinds of truths about yourself, are you clear about it? If not, then please study Vedanta. And then your samadhi can be segmented into savikalpa samadhi and nirvikalpa samadhi. And what does that mean? That means that savikalpa means that your estimation of yourself as a limited being is present in your mind. You cannot just completely get rid of it. And I think, again, in the parlance of watching a movie that Swami Paramarthananda pointed out, very clear, very clear. What it means is that as you have now prepared yourself for watching the movie. But as you are watching the movie, you have two identities that are present at some stage. So look at this, you are starting to watch the movie. As you are starting to watch the movie, there are two identities that are simultaneously present. What are the two identities? One is, I am a movie watcher. The second identity is with the narrative of the movie. Narrative of the movie could be that a person has been punished by the government unnecessarily. the person didn't really create a crime, but he was being accused by the, the king or the dictator or the president or something. And then and the person is really struggling to prove that I'm innocent, and his innocence is not being accepted. And this is the person is in a quandary as to how do I prove, and he's suffering. So this is a suffering individual that you are identified with. You are saying, yeah, this is not right. This person should not be persecuted like this. This is not good. And so you are now completely identified, not completely, but you are starting to get identified with this person who's being hassled in the movie. But you now have two identities. For a while you can say that I'm a movie watcher. Those thoughts keep coming back to you. You know, it could be that you have to pick up a daughter from school. So you're looking at your watch at the same time, that I hope that I can make it. How long is the movie going to be? Whatever. You have some identity with respect to not as a moviegoer. You have some identity as the harassed person in the movie. This is what is called savikalpa. There are two different identities. But you know what? After a while, if the movie overwhelms you with its narrative, with its plot, and you are so absorbed, you forget that you are a moviegoer. You get emotionally involved with the movie. This is all an identity. All an identity. Your identity is that of very much like the hero who is getting harassed by the government. And it could be it could be a heroine. You may be male, but your identity is with a female. Doesn't matter. It's an amazing thing. You can just be completely transformed as the harassment to a female heroine. But it happens. That identity, where you do not have dual identity but a single identity, is called nirvikalpa samadhi. This is an important thing to understand. We all have these strange ideas about savikalpa and nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa does not mean thoughtlessness. This is one of the misconceptions which is normally given. Nirvikalpa doesn't mean thoughtlessness. It means an identity which is not dual. The narrative that you are involved in, and what kind of narrative in this case? Aham ajaha, aham purnaha, aham nityaha, aham anantaha, aham jnana sarupaha, ayam shuddhaha, aham muktaha. All of this, there is a certain identity to this. That identity, you're completely involved in. Your second identity is what? Aham jiva. I am a jiva. I am afflicted. I was born at such and such time. This is one identity. The second identity is that I am unborn. I cannot possibly die. I am Shuddha, I am very pure. This is the second identity. So just look at the progression of this. You're moving from a firm identity that I am a jiva to a dual identity that I am both a jiva as well as I am Brahma, to completely that I am Brahma without any jivatva. This is how the progression has to go through. This progression is the what is called the Vedantic Samadhi. So really in Swami Paramarthananda had pointed out that you can even say that beyond the 8 steps of the Patanjali Yoga, this is the 9th step. This is the 9th step. And why is it the 9th step which is not there? Because the Samadhi of Patanjali is simply being naturally absorbed. In what? You have the same experience, by the way. You have the same experience as that of Vedantic meditation, that I am quiet, I am unmoving. But that experience is shakeable. Shakeable. Because as soon as some things happen, you cannot continue with the samadhi forever. You're still a human being. This is totally different. It's like a pretension kind of a thing. Whereas the Vedantic meditation is that so in the Vedantic meditation, when you say aham nitya, aham ajaha, aham purnaha, aham anantaha, and all of these things, do you know what it means? It means that the anityaha, apurnaha, etc. is possible, but that's not me. See, that is the thing. When you say aham purna, I am fullness, I am infinite, I am never born, I am the nature of overcoming death, and so on and so forth. There, if there is a thought of, this is exactly like once you understand that you are the entire space, then you started out within this room space to understand that you are the total space. And if you understand total space, will you mind the fact that you are still a room space? No. You'll say, oh, one of these days this wall is going to fall down. Doesn't matter whether it falls down or not. I've understood that I am the total space. Similarly, in the example of the ocean and the wave, once the wave understands, oh my goodness, I have made such a terrible error thinking that I am just the Namarupa, the name and form of the wave. I didn't realize that my identity is with the water. Once it understands it, then whether or not it continues on as a wave, does it matter? No. Doesn't matter at all. That is the Vedantic meditation. That is the true Nirvikalpaka Samadhi, not this other one. So this is now coming back to the 6th chapter again, the specifics of it. So up to verse number 18, the steps of the dharana, the dhyanam, and samadhi was given. Okay? So if you look at now on verse number 19 of the 6th chapter, number 19. So there, Lord Krishna says, number 19, Yatha deepaha nivatastha na ingate sopama smrita yoginaha yatachittasya yunjato yogam atmanaha. So, he's describing how one should be totally absorbed in the estimation of oneself as a free person. Through preparation, which we have seen, Niyama, Niyama, Sadhana, etc., etc., but if you do the preparation, because the thing is that your mind is going all over the place. What do I have to do today? I've got these worries, I've got worries. In the meantime, Vedanta is talking about the fact that, be absorbed in the fact that you're okay. You are a free person. It's a fact that you have to see. But I'm unable to see it because my mind is flickering. So here Krishna is talking about how to make your mind unflicker. How to be steady. So he says, Yatha Deepaha Nivatastha. That how there is a flame which has been surrounded by, let's say, some enclosure. And that enclosure does not allow the wind to disturb the shape of the flame. So like, for example, this is what happens is when you have a flame in the middle of a glass bottle or something like this, flame of a glass. So that glass prevents the wind from disturbing the flame, and yet you can see it. This is the function of the glass. So the question is, what is the nature of such a glass in my life that will keep me from keeping my focus on my own reality? Because my mind is getting disturbed by different situations and so on. So this number 19 is a start of a discussion which will be actually completely taken up in the 35th verse. So here it is pointed out that there are two things that you need to do in order to make your mind steady. Equivalent to having a glass enclosure, you need to have two things that you should have in order to make your mind steady. What are the two things? So one is called bhakti and the other one is called vairagyam. One is called bhakti. Bhakti means a full, this is what is called sharanagati. Ishvara sharanagati. So Ishvara sharanagati means taking the refuge to the presence of Ishvara in your life. So we'll talk about both of them in some more detail. So bhakti, and by the way, this is the start of chapter 7, which is primarily devoted to how to do bhakti towards Ishvara. What does the bhakti mean? How to do it? What are the advantages of doing? All of that discussion will come in chapter 7. So this is just a prelude towards that. So anyway, the first one is bhakti. So the bhakti means the following. It means a trust in the higher power who is in charge of everyone's life. It's a feeling of trust, very much like one has a trust towards, let's say, a doctor. But you have a medical problem. It is all our experience that unless we know what the problem is, our mind is going haywire. Because we don't know what it is. We find the worst case scenarios. All kinds of things come to our mind. But if you have a trust in a doctor, and the doctor has already seen you, and he says, you know, I know what this is all about. Your mind calms down even while the problem is still there. It is still there, but now it has been verified by someone that you trust in. Isn't it? So then you can go through your life knowing that someone knows what this is all about, and even though my problems are not solved yet, they will be. Is the same situation with the study of any religion, any spirituality. You have to understand through your whatever you're studying, and this is not just related to Vedanta, it could be any other religion as well. There is the presence of some higher power in my life. And if you resort to that person, this is what is called Sharanagati. It's like going to a doctor. But you need to have if you go in there saying, oh, all these doctors don't know what they're talking about, nobody seems to know, and it's not going to help you. You need to resort your faith towards some specialist. It could be that you haven't found the right one. That is a different case in here. But in Ishvara's case, he is the absolute finest doctor there is, who says, I know your problems, you'll have to bear with it, but it'll be okay in the end. The end is all wonderful. And so this is what is called bhakti. So bhakti means that when there are problems in your life, you just have a mental prayer and saying that there is some higher power who will take care of me. So this is called one of the two things which will steady your mind. Just like the glass enclosure, there are two aspects. So one of them is bhakti. Okay? The second one is vairagyam. Vairagyam means that your attachments have to become less controlling of you. You need to be relatively unattached with respect to things. Here's a very beautiful example given in Vedanta. The example is that, because you say that, Vedanta, all the people say that do not be attached. Don't be attached to your children, anything that you are attached to, you should lessen your attachment. And everyone says, why? Because, my daughters and sons, they give me a lot of pleasure. They are wonderful people. Why should not be attached to them? My children, my grandchildren, my friends, whatever. Why should I not be attached to them? What's the problem? Here is the problem. The problem is that what gives you joy today may not give you the same joy tomorrow. There is no such thing as one way only that any attachment gives you just happiness. There's no such thing as rule. If you are prepared for the problems of the attachments, then finally go and have it. But I suspect you are not. You have this kind of a Pollyanna view that these people will just love me for the rest of my life. Not going to happen. If you have attachments, they will bind you and they will create a problem in the end. With respect to that, this very beautiful example is given. The example is that there was a monkey who used to bother this homeowner because he would come in and eat all of their grains. And for those of you that are familiar with monkeys in India, you'll find they can be very bothersome. They do all kinds, take away things. They can frighten babies. They can even scratch you and all kinds of. They're very, very troublesome. So this person was, really troubled by the presence of the monkey. He thought of an idea. He said, what if I get a glass or some vessel, some jar that has a narrow neck? And so narrow, in fact, that if the monkey, and so what he did was he filled the jar up with peanuts that the monkeys love. So the monkey comes in and he puts his hand in there and takes the handful of peanuts in his hand, but now he cannot get out because the neck is so narrow that it won't allow the hand to come out. And so the homeowner came in with a big stick and started to beat the monkey. That get out of there, do not ever visit me here. So the monkey was getting thrashed, but he didn't want to let go of the peanuts. And all the monkey has to do is to let go of the peanuts and he's free. But he won't do it. He's getting thrashed, but he's not going to leave. And finally there comes a point where he gets thrashed so badly that he goes limp and his hand automatically comes out and he leaves. This is the example given in our lives. We will not leave our attachments. Why? Because they are too attractive to us. We get thrashed by it. We get experiences where those we love do not really love us back. There are disappointments. There are all kinds of problems that occur. But I am unwilling to let go of it. I am so involved with my so-called attached activities that I am unwilling to examine my own nature. This is the example given. I'm so enamored with somewhat trivial things, thinking that they alone will save me. No one can save you, especially if at the end of the life you have to leave them. They cannot come with you to heaven. If you came alone, you're going to go alone. But right now I feel secure with the attachments that I have. Fine. But slowly let go of them. And if you do, and turn instead to an examination of yourself and to God, you'll be much better off. here Swami Paramarthananda, in one of the texts that he was teaching, I was just listening to some of his tapes recently, and he had a very good three-way stage of progress in our life. So, one stage is what is called a samsari. Samsari means the feeling that the world, I have to depend on the world, experiences of the world to save me, to protect me, to make me progress. That means that I have to make sure that I have good friends, I have a job, I have good health, the normal things that we are all involved in. And there is nothing else that I need to do. I don't know what else can I do. This is all that I have. So this is the first stage, which is called samsari. And also I'm called a karmi. Karmi means I'm just a doer. I'm a karta bhokta. I'm a doer, an enjoyer, sufferer, whatever it is. This is what I am. And everybody is slightly different. I'm also in one of those, and I'm doing the best I can. This is the first stage. Then through the study of Shastra, I learned that there is a higher truth that I need to be aware of. There is someone in charge. It is not, the whole world is not running autopilot with no one really knowing what to do, and everyone is on their own. There, in fact, there is a structure and a higher power. And yes, there is good and bad, but according to some system. And in fact, there is Ishvara, and in charge of how you were born, who were you born with, what is going to happen to you after this. All of this is the second stage. And in fact, if you work towards the good of not only you as a person but others, then good things will happen to you. This is what is called karma yoga. So this is the karma yoga. So the first one is you are a karmi. And the second stage is you are karma yogi. So karma yogi means that it is not just between you and the world. There is actually a triad of you, the world, and God. All three of them are intricately involved. There is a relationship, there is a cause and effect, and you should understand how these laws work. So the trust in God, trust in Ishvara, the inquiry of it, and slowly feeling the palpable presence of Ishvara in your life marks the second stage. And this karma yoga, by the way, is exemplified by the first part of the Vedas. This is called Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda or Purva Mimamsa, there are different words for that. Purva Mimamsa of Karma Kanda, all the Vedas. This is also given by Ishvara. And so they're doing pujas, going to the temple, having a sense of charitable towards others. All of those kinds of things are involved. So not just artha and kama, but also dharma. All three of them are involved. So the purushartha, the way we want to proceed in our life has four have four elements. So one is artha, one is kama, third is dharma, and the fourth is moksha. So the artha is the beginning. Artha means a sense of security. That I want to be a secure person. I have to have enough money. I have to have a house. I have to have enough company. I need to have some children and spouse. This is all artha, all part of artha. So this is the advancement of security in my life. This is artha. Then I have enough money. I've got a home. I've got a job, and so on. I have friends. Then comes the quest for some enjoyment. This is what's called kama. Kama means good food. So there's a distinction between food for survival and good food, tasty food. So the tasty food has to do with kama, not with artha. Artha means that you are very hungry. You're not sure whether you can get two meals for the day. This reminds me, somebody was telling me this. They overheard two kids talking recently. This is a real fact. So there was this girl who is the older sister of her brother, and they overheard a conversation between the older sister, and I don't know exactly what their ages were, and it was not that much. The older sister was probably less than 10, 9 or 10, and the younger kid was like 6 or 7. So they're having this conversation. So this boy says, God, when is food is going to be ready? When is food is going to be ready? I'm starving. I'm starving. So the older sister turns to him and says, no, you are not starving. You are just hungry. And there are people in India who are starving. And this mother said, wow, this is amazing how this young 9-year-old girl can make that distinction between starvation and hunger. You know? This is like Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, when he first came to this country, he says, I was really surprised by some of the language that people used and so on. So I remember he saying this. He says in the beginning, there's a satsang, and then people come with their children, and so then after the satsang, Swamiji gives this prasadam. So he gives some fruits and some candies, and whatever is there, he gives it to. So he says in the beginning, I saw he was giving, so the only thing he was left with was a banana. He had some oranges and other things. So he gave a banana to this boy. And this boy uttered, I hate bananas. So Swamiji said, this is the first time I saw the word hate used in this sense in my life. He says all over in India, I had never seen somebody saying, I hate banana. I mean, you can say I can dislike banana, but the word is misused. Hate is a very strong word. You cannot use it for a banana, for heaven's sake. Use it for you can say, I hate Trump. Yes, you can do that, but not for a banana, So anyway, so this is how the hunger versus starvation was talked about. So anyway, so going back to what we were discussing earlier, that really speaking, when we are really want to have something badly, then our relationships are completely different. I even lost my train of thought as to what was I talking about. I think I was so involved in the. I usually don't do that, but I remember Swamiji and Dayanandji will never lose a train of thought. But I just did.
Talking about karma.
Thank you.
Good food versus.
Good. Yeah, that was the thing. So the difference was. So the difference is not just starvation, not just, but something better to do, which is karma, which is good food. And this is where then we go for music, etc., all the other experiences. Then comes the next progress with dharma. And dharma means a peculiar understanding that the role of punyam and papam in your life. Punyam and papam. Punya papa means that I can gain sometime in the future by doing something good. And what doing good means is a separate thing. But just as a concept, you see that's how different dharma is. Because dharma is not artha. Artha means doing things to enhance my own security. Earning enough money, saving, taking care of the home, car, this is artha. Kama means just having fun. Dharma means enhancing my ability to enjoy by doing good in the future, because I know that by doing good I will be rewarded. And doing bad means avoiding doing something which is silly, cutting corners, because I'll be punished for it. So this sense of dharma must involve Ishvara. Must involve Ishvara, because where is it stored? Who is in charge of keeping papam? Who's keeping track of it? There must be something. So this is what is called adrishta. One is called drishtaphala, obvious, and the one is called adrishta. Adrishta means one thing which is not easily seen, but nevertheless it is there. So then you begin to be aware of the fact that all of a sudden one can just have an accident. And you didn't do anything bad, but some previous something has been stored in your life which allows these accidents to occur and so on. So the whole sense is to have dharma. So this dharma is the epitome of the second stage in life, which is karma yoga. So I want to complete that whole analysis. So one is, the first stage is as a pure karma, where you are only dealing with the world and yourself. The second stage is where you, the world, and Ishvara, all three are involved in your thinking. And you have a sense that yes, there are some higher laws of punya papa, dharma is involved, and so on. And also the fact that you discover that there is more than one way to be peaceful. One way is to help others, to be charitable. That gives a certain peace of mind which I didn't realize that before. So this also becomes an independent source of, of peacefulness. Anyway, so this is the second stage, which is called Karma Yoga. Then comes the third stage. And by the way, each of these stages you cannot bypass. You have to go through them. This is the progression. The third stage is called Jnana Yoga. Not Karma Yoga, but Jnana Yoga. So, before describing Jnana Yoga, the first one is where I depend upon the world. There, vairagyam is almost absent. Bhakti is completely absent. The enclosures that will steady my mind are absent. They're not there. In the second stage, bhakti and vairagyam become more prominent in my life. And vairagyam, like that monkey's example, is that I am getting thrashed because I'm unwilling to let go of the peanuts. In the case of the monkey, he may never understand it. Only when he gets so thrashed that his hand naturally becomes limp. But in the case of the human being, we are able to understand that this is, see what I'm happening. Really, I'm attached to things that are punishing me. A very good example of that, honestly, this is my own, is having a favorite of your sports team. You know, we all want to be attached to one or the other, warriors. Just because they are winning these days, we are very attached to them. Do you know the unhappiness they cause when they lose to you? When they lose, you don't think about that. The better thing is, much better thing, is to appreciate the art of the game. And sure, you can have some favorites because, you know, you belong to this area. But to enjoy the art of the game, to say whoever wins is doing good. And I tell you, I've also trained myself to this. I see this when my kids are watching, my son is watching, and so on and so forth. They just want one team to win. I am beginning to really appreciate the artistry of the other people. And I say, you know, they're very good. Why shouldn't they win? And I'm much more comfortable when if they win, but not uncomfortable if they lose. This is getting rid of the attachments. So the third stage of Jnana Yoga is, so remember this, the first stage is you depend upon the world. The second stage is you depend upon Ishvara. The third stage is when you depend upon the self. And you cannot depend upon the self until you understand the power of the self, that it is very dependable. You are not aware of that. If you are aware, it's not total awareness, it's not unconditional understanding. And so this is the teaching of the Vedanta. So Vedanta here means Vedasya Antaha. It is the culmination of, and so both the Karma Yoga and in fact the entire experience of Jagat, all three of them are created by Ishvara. It's not as though that you must accept Ishvara. No. But Ishvara says that if you understand me, you'll be very happy. If you don't understand me, then it is likely that you will not be completely happy. So this is what it says, that in non-understanding of Brahman, Ishvara, can create problems in your life. It's very much like the rope and the snake. If you understand a rope to be rope, there is no problem. If you don't understand it, there can be a problem. So all three stages have the involvement of the Creator. But in the third stage, the Creator, Ishvara, is not different from you. You are the very essence of Ishvara. This is why the self is very powerful. But I don't accept it. I just think of myself as, it is like saying that the whole Akasha is free, can never be enclosed, very powerful. But I don't understand it. I just want, all I can understand is a room space. I just want to be a bigger room space, that's all. So in terms of meditation, to close the loop, therefore, to understand the narrative of the self, I need to study the mind, and to study the mind, the equivalent to having a glass enclosure is bhakti and vairagya. So in one way is an understanding of a larger presence of Ishvara, and the other one is to give up my attachments to things that are unreliable. So look at this. One is to go towards reliability, the other one is to give up the unreliability. And to understand them very well. Don't just take any, this is not a forced kind of a thing. You have to do it yourself. This is what Krishna is pointing out in this example. And so we'll continue with this towards the end of the chapter, which we're coming to. But this is the progression. So the progression is the eightfold yoga of Patanjali, very useful, but then to also see where it falls down. It is not thoughtlessness, in fact, it is an appreciation of the power of the self. That narrative has to be understood, and once it is done, then there is a possibility of being totally free. So this is how it progresses. So with that, I'll say a prayer and have any questions that you may have. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om. Questions?
Simplify, essentially we are creating a rules, regulation and procedure in place so that you are on autopilot.